Hello and welcome to the in-news series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pooja. Today we are going to discuss Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. As the Prime Minister of India unveils the 28 feet tall statue of Netaji, it becomes imperative for us to understand about his life, his ideologies, the important facets related to the statue, also other important facts related to the ceremonial intricacies. So let us begin without further ado about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Let us know. Netaji was born on 23rd January 1897 in Cuttack, Odisha. He was the 9th child of Janaki Nath and Prabhavati Bose. So Janaki Nath was more inclined towards the English culture. He wanted his children to study in a good medium school, English medium school, so that only English is taught over there and no Bengali. So Subhash Chandra Bose studied like that. Whereas Prabhavati was more inclined towards Hinduism and she was a staunch Hindu devout as well. So it was a mixture. Then comes 1909, Subhash Chandra Bose got enrolled into the Ravenshaw Collegiate School, and there he completed his secondary education and also studied along with European languages, Bengali, Sanskrit, Vedas and Upanishads. After that, it had an impact on his ideological career. He became less drawn towards the anglicized ways that his family was generally used to. His family was pretty anglicized. And historian Leonard Gordon said that after a period of time when he studied so many things together, he began to make his own synthesis of cultures of the West and the Indian culture. Okay, now let's move towards his political career, which is at the nascent stage or development stage. He studied at Cambridge University, where he wanted to prepare for Indian Civil Services examination in 1920. After a period of time, he abandoned the project because he was very determined to take part into the national struggle for independence. He joined the Mahatma Gandhi-led national movement, went to Mumbai, then Bombay in 1921 to meet Mahatma Gandhi. But he was not very satisfied with the answers he received for the question he asked about how to join the national movement and what should be his plan of action. Dissatisfied, he returned, and there are certain ideological differences that we have to understand from the perspective of the examination between Mahatma Gandhi's ideologies and Subhash Chandra Bose's ideologies. If we talk about the time period, what was the ideology? For Netaji, he wanted immediate action, if not immediate results, with respect to national freedom struggle. He wanted to throw away the British at once. If that wasn't possible, he wanted at least some violent action. Other than that, we talk about Mahatma Gandhi. He was willing to wait a long time for independence. So there was a mismatch. On technology, Subhash Chandra Bose, he saw technology and mass production as essential to survival and dignity. Whereas Gandhiji was anti-materialistic and hostile to modern technology. He was more of a person who believed in the manual labor and not technology or machines. For polity, Subhash Chandra Bose wanted to make a strong centralized government and saw that becoming a modern state will be the only solution to India's problem. Gandhiji wanted a decentralized society and disliked the modern state. For that only we have the Panchayati Raj system and municipalities. Then core principle, if we talk about, the biggest ideological difference was Gandhiji had non-violence at the heart of the entire ideology, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose did not believe so. He did not believe in non-violent means. But it wasn't all bad. Of course, Bose or Netaji was the first person to call him the father of the nation during an address from Azad Hind Radio from Singapore in July 1944. So, if we talk about the differences that were there, but at the same time, they had immense respect for each other. Moving ahead, let's talk about his role in the Congress. So, in 1938, he was elected as the Congress president in Haripura session. This could be a prelims question. And there he wanted Swaraj as the national demand and said that we want an independent India free of British rule. We do not want to become a federation under the British rule. Okay. He stood for re-election in 1939, defeated Dr. Pattabhi Sitaramayya, and Pattabhi Sitaramayya had a strong backing from Mahatma Gandhi when he was defeated. According to a very prominent historian, it is said that when he got defeated, Mahatma Gandhi took it as his own personal defeat. In retaliation to that, or in reaction to that, 12 of the 15 members of the working committee resigned from their roles. That included Jawaharlal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, and Vallabhbhai Patel. Now, Bose tried to set up another working committee, but that was failing, that failed, and he was replaced by Rajendra Prasad. Then he resigned, okay, after that. Moving ahead, let's talk about his radical career. From the very beginning, we saw that his ideology was not fitting well with the ideology of the other people, specifically Mahatma Gandhi. So what happened? His radical career started. But he did not want to, as of yet, break away from Congress. He said we should have a forward block within the Congress. Within the Congress, he wanted the radical left elements of the Congress party to come and join the forward block because of two reasons. First, he wanted to convert the majority of the Congress to towards his radical point of view, that we cannot petition and pray for independence, but we have to take radical revolutionary steps. Second, he wanted to provide the Indian people with an alternative leadership. He might see, back then he was seeing certain sort of drawbacks with respect to the leadership. So he wanted to ensure Indian people that there is alternative source. If you are not agreeing to this part, you might agree to other path. He wanted that the entire base of his radical ideology was based upon uncompromising anti-imperialism in the current phase of Indian politics and undiluted socialism once freedom was achieved. So he had a plan how to achieve the goal of independence and what should be done after independence. So socialism was his point of view as well. Now let's talk about when he did not get his wishes to be completed in India. He escaped and had a disguise. Now in 1940, he was arrested. Before, he wanted to launch a campaign to go against a memorial which was set up for the victims of the black hole tragedy. So before that only he was arrested. But after a strong hunger strike, he was released from the jail in December. And he began his escape from India after he got released. And that was through rail, road, foot, in disguise, because he did not want to come under the surveillance of the British government. Now, he went to Soviet-controlled Kabul via the northwest of India and finally reached Nazi Germany. There he was assured and provided assistance to defeat the British and was also allowed to start the Azad Hind Radio and also was provided with a few thousand Indian prisoners of war who were captured by the Germans. Okay, moving ahead towards an army. Once he got his stronghold in Nazi Germany and in the European area, he thought that now we should move on to Southeast Asia, South Asia. And after he went to Singapore, specifically in Singapore he wanted to go, and in February 1943, he left Germany with his aide Abid Hassan in a submarine. Now at that point of time, it was the peak of World War II. How hard it would have been for Bose, who was under the surveillance, actually under the surveillance of British. So how hard it would have been for him to escape that region. At the Indian Ocean, past Madagascar, a small rubber boat was provided by the Japanese, and then they were taken to Sumatra, and finally they arrived in Tokyo by air. Alright, now let's talk about the formation of the Indian National Army. Before Bose's arrival, Indian National Army was already there. Can you tell me who formed it in the comment segment? Now in 1942, thousands of Indian prisoners who were captured by Japan, and they were also, this Indian National Army was given the aid of Japan as well. So he reached Singapore in 1943 and the formation of Provisional Government of Azad Hind Fauj was taken. Then that was in October 1943. Then January 1944, headquarters of the Provisional Government was moved to Rangoon. Alright. And the INA crossed the Indo-Burma border, marching towards Kohima, Imphal and Kohima in March with their campaign slogan, Chalo Delhi or Chalo Delhi campaign that was. So the British and British Indian armies along with American air support, they were able to check the Japanese forces, and because of that the International Army was pushed back and they were pushed back out of Kohima. Moving ahead, in April to May 1945, INA soldiers along with Bose and the women of the Rani of Jhansi regiment, they were forced to retreat on foot to Thailand. After the atomic bombs were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, August 1945, the war came to an end. What happened after that? Bose left Southeast Asia on a Japanese plane heading towards China, and as we all know it, the plane crashed. Now, what is the actual truth? Was he dead or alive? Is still not maintained. As of yet, we still officially know that he did not survive that crash. Many say that he did, and after that he lived in disguise. So let's talk about the statue now. Statue is 28 feet tall. By Indian standards, it is still not as tall as the Statue of Unity, which is almost 600 feet tall. It is because the canopy height where the statue is installed, it is limited by the height of the canopy. Okay. And the hologram statue was unveiled earlier this year on 23rd January 2022. Hologram is basically a drawing of the image with the help of lights. It's a 3D image which has been drawn with the help of lights, and it seems to move as you move past to it. So it's like very realistic. And Parakram Divas was celebrated on January 23rd, which was Netaji's 125th birth anniversary as well. Moving ahead, the statue, let's talk about how it was sculpted. It was sculpted by, of course, if you want to know the name, Arun Yogiraj. Okay, this person is Arun Yogiraj, and it is completely hand sculpted using traditional techniques and modern tools. Now, the team of sculptors under Arun Yogiraj, they sculpted the entire statue of Subhash Chandra Bose. He is also responsible, he and his team is also responsible for sculpting 12-foot statue of Adi Shankaracharya, which was unveiled in Kedarnath in 2021. So all these are preliminary facts. Now moving on to granite. Granite is generally used as a building material. Why? Because it is one of the hardest materials in the world, apparently only second to diamonds. So it is made of the statue is made of monolithic block of granite. That means it's a single block of granite. The granite itself weighs 280 tons. The statue itself weighs 65 tons or 65,000 kg. 26,000 man-hours of intense work was given or dedicated towards the sculpting of the statue, and a 100-foot long giant truck with 140 wheels were actually made for this particular statue to bring the statue from Khammam in Telangana, and where it was excavated, to New Delhi. So just imagine the amount of employment it gave to people. Moving ahead, now let's talk about the site. The site is actually a 73-foot canopy which has been inspired by the 6th century pavilion from Mahabalipuram. And it is about 150 km to the east of the India Gate at the center of sea hexagon, and it is designed by Edwin Lutyens. So you see that we discussed about Kartavya Path, right? So Kartavya Path has been unveiled. Along with that, many symbols of Indian struggle, Indian national freedom struggle were also unveiled along that. So in we see that canopy with the statue of King George V, because this canopy was there for installing the statue of King George V, and it was later on removed in the 1960s after independence. And then we have the statue of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. It was added to the India Gate complex in 1936 to honor the then deceased King George V, and it was a 50-foot marble statue that was kept in the canopy. And it was actually designed, the statue was designed by Charles Sargent Jagger. He is a very famous war memorial, you can say advisor with respect to Britain. There are many war memorials which have been advised to by the Charles Sargent Jagger. Okay. And after independence, basically there was a lot of uproar that Why do we have King George V in the canopy? It's a symbol of colonial legacy. So yes, it was rightly removed from there to Coronation Park near Interstate Bus Terminus by the Yamuna in New Delhi in 1968. Moving ahead, I have already showed you this. So let's talk about the significance. After it became, you can say, deprived of any statue, many governments tried to fix a statue over there, but there was no consensus over which statue should be designed to be kept there, to be installed there. Many said Mahatma Gandhi would be perfect. Some said that Jawaharlal Nehru's statue should be there. After the assassination of Indira Gandhi, there were rumors that Indira Gandhi's statue would be installed over there. But because it remained empty, it got the name Empty Canopy. So from this year onwards, 2022, Republic Day celebrations will start on January 23rd to mark Subhash Chandra Bose's 125th birth anniversary. So we can see that since the beginning of this year, there were already plans to install the statue of Subhash Chandra Bose. And also Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Aapda Prabandhan Award was also institutionalized for contributions in disaster management. Museums which are dedicated to him have been set up at the Red Fort and Victoria Memorial in Kolkata. This year, before we move on ahead, we should know that this current government also declassified several files related to Bose's life and times through National Archives of India. And there has been a realization that all this has been done. But Bose is perhaps the only national leader who did not have a statue or memorial dedicated to him in the capital, in New Delhi. Other places it had, but in New Delhi, there was not any sort of dedication towards him through any statue or memorial. So this is the ceremonial intricacies. Very important. It could be from the perspective of your examination prelims. Remember it. Now, as the unveiling of the statue and the Kartavya Path came into being, Manipuri Shankh Vadayam and Kerala's traditional Panch Vadayam and Chanda were used. Also, as the statue of Subhash Chandra Bose got unveiled, the tune of Kadam Kadam Badhaaye Ja was also sung. The tune was played along with it. The song of Netaji's Indian National Army. Remember this. It was actually the song of National Army, Indian National Army. It could be asked in your prelims. And not only that, the regiment is, of course, in Indian National Army. It ranged from many important personalities' names such as Gandhi, Nehru, Maulana Azad, and himself, that means Subhash Chandra Bose, and a women's regiment by the name of Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi. Tribal folk art forms were also performed, such as Sambalpuri. Sambalpuri is a tribal folk art from Odisha. Remember this, okay? Odisha. Panthi is from Chhattisgarh. Okay? Kalbelia is from Rajasthan. It is also a UNESCO intangible heritage. Kargam is from Tamil Nadu. Alright? And dummy horse with live music by Nashik Dhol Pathik Tasha and the drums. These all were performed. Apart from that, Mangal Gan, which was penned by Pandit Shri Krishna Ratan Jankar Ji on the occasion of the first Independence Day in 1947, was also presented by Pandit Suhas Vashi along with the team of singers and musicians. So these kind of questions could be asked if any tribal folk art or any sort of poetry or a song is in the news, which is important from the perspective of your examination. So remember this, you have to study it. Okay, let's look at the question. Highlight the difference in the approach of Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi in the struggle for freedom in 150 words. I will take the names of those who have answered yesterday's question correctly in tomorrow's segment. Okay, thank you so much for watching.